Welcome back, everybody. As you probably guessed from the thumbnail and the title, this is what we are going over today. This is the newest, at least that I know of, red dot optic from Aimpoint as of when I'm filming this video. It's the Duty RDS. There's definitely some cool features on it, and basically, what is it? We're going to answer that today. We're also going to answer how it's performed, but before we do that, I do not have a sponsor for today's video, so I'm sponsoring it myself with my daily deals email. The link to sign up is here on your screen. Goes out every day, 6 or 7 of the best deals around the internet. And the day I release this video, the cheapest price anywhere on the internet for this optic, it will be in that email. So sign up. We have a virtually 0 unsubscribe rate, so that just shows it's pretty awesome. Anyway, back to the optic itself. What is it? Well, basically, if you look at Aimpoint's lineup in their comp series, which is their larger body series, they've had the Aimpoint Pro for a long time, and it's been super popular. I have a review of it here on the channel. It's an excellent optic, particularly for somebody who wants Aimpoint quality, but doesn't want to pay typical Aimpoint prices. So I think what they did is they took their line of their micro line, which is the H1, H2, T1, T2, and then wanted to bring a more budget-friendly option to that lineup, just like the Pro is for the larger series. So that is what this is here. So there's some unique features about it, but just kind of basic specs is that it does have a 2 MOA dot. Battery life is going to be 30,000 hours on setting 7. Most lighting situations, from what I've seen anyway, in my use, you want it at like setting 8 or 9. So probably a little bit lower than that, but 30,000 hours is over 3 years. And it also has 4 night vision settings and 6 daylight bright settings. And basically it takes Aimpoint's footprint, but the mount is a little bit weird. So let's talk about the mount here. The mount puts it right at in between absolute co-witness and lower 1/3 co-witness. So you can also switch that out with different mounts. Of course, it does come with this mount, which is super solid, but any of the Aimpoint micro aftermarket mounts are out there. And I'm gonna roll in a chart right now from T-Rex Arms, so shout out to them for making the chart of a bunch of different aftermarket mounts that will let you know sort of how this optic works with different height mounts. Why did they go with a non-standard height mount? I have no idea. Probably a way to make the body stronger. That's my guess. But kind of starting out, if I don't drop it, starting out here at the rear, you'll notice that we do have a clear flip-up lens cover, or flip down, depending on how you want to run it. The lens covers are removable. If I was going to use this for like personal home defense or self-defense use, I'd probably remove them, but I know some folks really like them. So if that's you, that's cool. Additionally, up front, the one up front is not removable, and excuse me, is not see-through. It is obstructed. But the reason they probably went with this is that even in this configuration, you can still shoot with it just fine if you use both eyes open. Using the quote-unquote bend-in aiming concept, it will work. I don't know why they didn't go with a clear one up front, but they didn't. Regardless, they did not. So there is that. Continuing on to this side of the optic, you'll see that we do have our brightness adjustment knob, or buttons rather, I should say. So typically with the Aimpoints, you've had this knob here that you roll around. They also have some that have little side tubes that you adjust it on, but it would basically give you a direct indicator of where you're at. You'd see it, and it would be very obvious. With this one, you kind of lose that. I don't mind it at all. If it saves some money, I'm cool with it. The only downside I really see to it from a practical perspective is if you're using gloves, it may be a little difficult to manipulate, but under normal conditions, it is a non-issue. Continuing on up to the top elevation adjustment, you'll see there that it is sort of protected. That's something that optics companies have started doing over the last few years, and it just ruggedizes the optic a little bit. And each click there is going to be half MOA for elevation. Now you do need a tool to adjust it. It's very common, and it does come with it. Some folks have complained about that, saying that, you know, you need a tool out in the field. How are you going to be able to zero your optic? From a practical perspective, I don't really see that being an issue for too many people. The clicks themselves are very audible, tactile, all those sorts of things. I'll stop talking and put it right next to my microphone so you guys can hear that. I kid you not, someone is playing the drums across the lake. Hopefully that is not coming through. But regardless, they are tactile and audible, and I don't really see it being an issue. Needing a tool, one thing that's nice about needing the tool is that it makes it less likely that something is just going to bump them off. So I do dig that. But it's also noted which way you are moving it on the optic itself. So you have the R and the arrow. Again, things that I do like. Same with our windage. It is kind of beefed up around that, which again just adds to durability. Here on the right side, we do have our battery housing, I should say. It is a CR2032 battery. So very common. Basically, all the Aimpoint micros take them. You can get them at like a Walgreens. They're everywhere, so you don't really have to worry about that. We've discussed the mount a little bit, but to actually mount the optic, basically you're just going to loosen that screw there at the base, and we'll put it over our rail, in this case an AR-15, and I'll kind of slide it forward for comparison's sake here in a second, but we're going to loosen it. And it is, again, the same tool that you use for your windage and elevation that you do use to mount it up there. And obviously you're going to want to push it forward there on the lugs like you would with any other optic, and just tighten it down. Now I will flip these caps out of the way, flip them up for demonstration purposes, and we'll throw on a LaRue lower 1/3 mount with a T1 in there so you guys can get an idea of the actual height that it's going to be at. And if we look at it from this side, you guys can see there that the top of the optic is a little bit higher than the top of this optic. So again, you're right in between lower 1/3 and absolute co-witness in terms of height. I personally like it a little bit higher. It allows you to keep your neck up a little bit more. And if you're shooting through night vision with the 4 night vision settings that it does have, that's obviously helpful as well. That said, if you're actually shooting through night vision a lot, you're going to want to get it a little bit higher than that, so that way you're not craning your neck all night long. But that is the height. That's how it sits versus other options in terms of using it with a magnifier, whether it be EOTech or some other brand. Basically, what I've found in using it is that you want to take your magnifier, and if it has the adjustment there or the actual insert for lower 1/3, remove it. And then at that point, you're going to be pretty darn close to being spot on with it. I don't want to say all, most magnifiers, of course, have the ability to adjust where the dot sits in actual magnifier itself, and with this primary arms with ACSS reticle, it works just fine, again, without that insert. If you get the insert in there for the lower 1/3, whether it be, again, this or an EOTech, you really got to play with dialing it in to get it centered in your magnifier. So that's how that works. At this point in the video, I think we've covered all the important points with a few exceptions. Number one, Aimpoint did send this to me. They sent this right when it was first announced, so I've had it the entire time. It's been on the entire time, so that's almost a year now, if not a little bit more. And again, we've had 0 issues with it in terms of using it on different guns. It has easily 2,000 to 3,000 rounds being on guns that have fired 2,000 to 3,000 rounds, if that makes sense. So absolutely no issues, no flickering, no nothing. So there is that. Another thing that's always important is going to be price point, right? So like I said, they were trying to kind of bring it down for their micro lineup, so that way you don't have to pay for a T1 or a T2. And right now, if you look around the internet, T2s are easily over $800 everywhere you look. And this one right now is going to be, generally speaking, $499 to like $525. So it is significantly less. It's close to half in terms of the actual cost of a T2. And what are you giving up? Not a lot, really, in my opinion. It's pretty darn solid. It's got a nice rugged body. You can see it's all scuffed up here. We've been using this thing hard. And the big thing you give up is battery life. The T2 is definitely going to win there without question. But in terms of coloration, as you look through the dot and stuff like that, honestly, I don't see a big difference. Obviously, I have a T1 here, but I have a T2 as well that's on my home defense rifle. And I mean, really, it's pretty darn similar. You're not giving up a ton. You give up the dial, you give up the battery life, you give up the familiarity with other aftermarket mounts. But of course, it works with the other aftermarket mounts. It's just going to put them at different heights on your actual gun when you use it there. So what do I think of it? I think it's great. I think it's excellent, especially for the price point and getting Aimpoint's customer service and quality. Now, the other option, of course, that you always have to think about is, like, there's a lot of really good budget red dots right now that are even cheaper than this by a good bit. So do you want to go with one of those, or do you want to go with the Aimpoint? Ultimately, that's up to you. Those dots are getting good, but the Aimpoint has been the standard for a long time for a reason. They're very, very well-made optics, and this one here is no exception. If you guys have any questions, you can post them down below in the comment section. I will be checking it out for the first couple days this video is posted, and then additionally, you can submit them over at my various social media sites that you see here on your screen. If you like this type of video, we do in-depth reviews like this all the time. So definitely hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you've done both of those and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, it's because you're being censored by an algorithm. So to combat that, you can sign up for my email list at the website here on your screen. This is different than my daily deals email. This email goes out once a month. It's not spammy at all, and it just has all the videos since the previous email went out, so that way there's nobody censoring your eyes from my content. If you guys want the deals, we already talked about it, daily deals, sign up, it's awesome. Everything in that email list that goes out every day is the cheapest I know of anywhere on the internet, so that way it saves you guys some time and hopefully some money, because I've already done the price comparisons and all those things, looking for it for you. So that is nice. And with that, we'll close it out. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.